The Solar Podcast is brought to you by Continental Energy Solutions. I'm Tim Montague, your host. Today, building a brilliant tomorrow with Inovateus Solar. My guest today is TJ Kanczuzewski, the CEO and co-founder of Inovateus Solar. Welcome to the show, TJ.
Thanks, Tim, and great pronunciation of my last name. You've done the best today so far.
I'm sure it was far from perfect, but welcome to the Solar Podcast. It's really great to have you on the show and great to have another Midwest solar expert in our midst. You know, I was born in Indiana in Bloomington, so I consider myself a Hoosier by birth, but I moved away when I was 2 years old and have lived elsewhere the rest of my life. But it is wonderful to get to know you a little bit and bring your story to the show. So let's dive right in and give our listeners a little bit of background on yourself and how you got interested in renewables.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tim. I'm a big fan of the show, and I'm a bigger fan now that I know you're a Hoosier. So, no, thanks for having me. And yeah, Innovative Solar got started in 2008, based in South Bend, Indiana. We were a part of some solar initiatives before that with Innovative Solar's predecessor, Innovative Development. And as you know, it's taken a long time for solar to really take hold in the Midwest. And so when we first started as a company, we were focused on areas within the country where we could really start our company off. So we did a lot of projects on the East Coast, and that led to some projects on the West Coast. But all along, we continued to kind of educate and try to help develop the solar marketplace in Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Illinois. And right off the bat, we were driven by our mission to build a brilliant tomorrow. We thought that solar energy was something that was needed in the United States, and clean energy overall was really what was needed. Industry, utilities, everybody really needed to embrace renewables, but solar was that next renewable that was really set up to kind of integrate with the current infrastructure that we have in our country. So we really focused a lot of time on building a great team at Innovatus. Our business model has kind of evolved over the years. We really started off as a product distributor, and we worked with a number of manufacturers. But then we quickly found that in order to get those products to our customers, we were also going to need to provide services like engineering, procurement, and construction. So we started focusing on engineering, project management, construction, and then really about 5-6 years ago, started doing more on the development side and developing projects, which has kind of led us to where we are today, which we have really a strong sustainability focus. We've got more involved on the finance and investing side of projects, but today we've deployed over 500 megawatts, and we have some really big plans in place over the next several years to double and even triple that when we get about 3 to 5 years out.
Cool. Well, we're going to, share with our listeners some of your company's expertise, not only in solar, but truly in sustainability and in building markets. It really is a both and for solar, right? It's not enough to go where the markets are. You have to be embedded in and facilitate the growth of the markets that you're living in, so to speak. And it's so fascinating that here you are 12 years in, and it's probably night and day, like what the solar economy was like back in '08 versus what it is now. We have upwards of 60 gigawatts of utility scale solar in the Midwest. Q's probably closer to 70, and it's just an eye-popping amount of solar development that is happening. So Let's talk about sustainability though, because while, every solar company that has anything to do with solar can claim, well, we're part of the green economy. You have a different angle on that. So tell us about that.
Sure. We really, part of our roots in Innovatus and our solar efforts comes from a sustainability mission. So Innovatus development, the predecessor that I mentioned to Inovateus Solar, was focused on energy efficiency and building of green homes and commercial construction projects, primarily in Indiana and Michigan. So, in the last few years, we were kind of, well, I would say when we were celebrating our 10th anniversary, it was a nice moment to kind of reflect on how we started and where we were, in 2018, and brought some attention back to that sustainability emphasis that is really foundational in our company. And as we talked about that, we realized that while solar is a sustainable energy source, that we were kind of surprised that there weren't more, sustainable practices kind of happening on the construction of projects, all across the country and around the world, and then in the shipping of products, the in the designs and engineering side of a solar project. I think so many companies like it, Innovatus, we try so hard just to make opportunities become a reality, that we kind of overlook some of the simple things we could do to actually make solar projects even more sustainable. So there's things that we've been working on the past couple of years, like pollinator-friendly habitat on the projects that we work on. So, the last couple of years, we've been able to implement that on a number of projects. One in particular was with NIPSCO at their headquarters. That was also a project too, where we focused on having a zero waste job site. We're working on a project in Logansport, Indiana right now, which is an 80-acre project, which is a PPA with Logansport Municipal Utility. And we've got, the pollinator-friendly habitat out there on site. So, it's a solar site that provides solar power for Logansport for 30 years. But it's also now, friendly to bees and butterflies, right? So it's nature friendly. It has erosion control benefits to it. We also, really kind of looked at our project fulfillment side, and we're working really closely with a number of manufacturers and asking them questions about their sustainability efforts. And we're trying to make decisions on what type of panels we use, or, racking or inverters. And we're kind of assessing that to see, the companies that we're purchasing from, who has the best sustainability practices out there. So it's really been kind of eye-opening for us, but at the same time, it's been really beneficial to our business. We haven't spent more money on sustainability, but we've been able to, provide more value to our customers by focusing on sustainability and, waste reduction. So it's been one where it's like, it's the right thing to do, but it's also profitable to both Innovatus and our customers.
Yeah, once you get into really being a sustainable company, there's so many levels and layers to this. And I'm glad you mentioned the products that we're using in solar industry, solar modules, inverters, racking. That's kind of the ultimate tier, I would say. And I want to shine a light on your zero waste practices. I noted when I interviewed the University of Illinois about Solar Farm 2 that you're the EPC on. And, it was clear that they were excited about your zero waste practices on that project. Why don't we just talk a little more about zero waste
Yeah,
construction?
sure. Well, I mean, there's a lot of details that kind of go along with it, but at Innovatus, the U of I project in particular, um, one of the things we have to do is any contractors that are out working on that project, we have to work with them on this zero waste program, right? So before we kick off construction on a project, we kind of go through a checklist and say, okay, these materials are going to be delivered. We're going to be ordering some of that. You're going to be ordering some of that. And so we have to have a plan of attack for, the packaging that these materials come in, whether it's cardboard, plastic, the metal banding. We on that project's utilizing Next Tracker trackers, right? So in the shipping of those products, there's certain materials there that pushes the envelope a little bit in terms of, okay, how are we going to figure this out? We have to work with some recycling companies or work with the waste management companies in that area to make sure that they can also follow through with our plans. And sometimes that's not the case. And it even involves Tyler Kanczuzewski, Tyler, who's my brother and our VP of Sustainability at Inovateus, him driving over to those job sites on a monthly basis and basically filling up a trailer of some of these materials that can't be recycled there locally and us taking them to a company that can recycle them properly. So it's a process, and it's a process that we've kind of had to work on over the last couple of years. We've really been able to fine tune it, and what's been really helpful in that is it's this concept has been very much welcomed by the companies that we work with, our contractors, our customers. The University of Illinois was all for having a sustainable practice on the job site and zero waste. And even, a little bit of a question there, well, how are you going to do that? Is this really going to be accomplished? Like, if we're going to tout zero waste, well, it better be zero waste. And we need to know what goes behind that. So we have a subcontractor, an electrical subcontractor called Pals Electric that's working on the University of Illinois project. And they've been a great partner in trying to achieve the zero waste. It's at first probably some added work to get this figured out, but as you go through it, it becomes easier. And they, along with other companies that we've worked with, have a few times kind of scratched their head and say, wow, this is really not that difficult. It's actually more efficient to do this way. Heck, we should just do our general construction projects this way. Companies like that, they do projects that are not necessarily solar related. So we're starting to see kind of a wave kind of happening as we're working on promoting a zero waste initiative as a part of our sustainable practices. It's other companies are picking up on it. They're welcoming, the concept, and we're getting better at it.
Excellent. And I do want to talk more about products, but let's shine a light also on Pollinator-Friendly. That is a super hot topic. I just interviewed Minnesota Native Landscapes earlier this week and have done episodes with Rob Davis from Fresh Energy and a company called EQ Research that did a report on Pollinator-Friendly Solar in Indiana with Ben Inskeep. And of course, we have legislation here in Illinois that promotes pollinator-friendly solar development. We have a checklist now, a pollinator checklist following the Minnesota model, so to speak. Where, in the greater scheme of things, I guess, TJ, what percentage of your projects are pollinator friendly, and what are the challenges and opportunities as an EPC when you're, trying to push that envelope?
Yeah. Well, in 2020, I want to say that over 50% of our projects had a pollinator implementation plan. So bee and butterfly habitat. We've done a lot of work with the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund. So we've worked with them on a number of projects. A few others, we've kind of figured it out with some local partners. And yes, definitely over half of our projects. Now, our goal in terms of ground mount solar arrays is to get to about 100% if we can on that. So that's our plan of attack moving forward. We have a utility initiative that we're working on in Indiana with a joint venture that we're a part of called Hoosier Solar Holdings. And so you mentioned earlier, there's been 60 gigawatts of utility scale projects implemented in the Midwest. There's probably about 70 that are in the queue process. So we have about a gigawatt that's within the queue process in Indiana, and 100% of those projects involve bee and butterfly habitats. And a lot of these projects are 100 megawatt plus. So I really see that being at least 90% of what we're doing in the future. Going back a couple of years, it was 0%, or maybe there's a couple of projects here and there, so maybe about 10%. So we've jumped up to 50%, and the goal is to get to 100.
Discern yourself, if you would, from a traditional developer, and let's clarify for our listeners exactly kind of what is your target market. You mentioned Indiana, and I certainly noticed the NIPSCO RFP that came out a couple years ago for several hundred megawatts of wind, solar, and storage. And like many utilities, they are transitioning away from fossil assets to renewable assets. But in a nutshell, what is the core focus of your project development?
Yeah, the core focus really is within the Midwest. I mean, we traditionally built and developed projects across the country, and will continue to do so. But since we're based in South Bend, it's only natural that we focus on opportunities that are closer to home for our team, and areas where we can have a larger impact. So earlier we kind of talked about fact that companies like Inovateus have spent a lot of time educating the regional marketplace. We spent a lot of time going back to even before we were called Inovateus Solar, working on some Inovateus development stuff. I remember meeting with AEP and NIPSCO and other utilities, and at the time solar was expensive. A lot of the utilities didn't quite see how solar was going to fit into their portfolio for quite some time. I think things have changed quickly. The economics have really improved drastically. I don't think that's a surprise to the solar energy industry folks. I think it's a surprise to energy folks who have been in the energy realm for a long time. So it's been great to see the change though over the years. I mean, I don't want to pick any one utility out in particular, but I mean, I do remember them frankly laughing at us in 2007 and 2008 when we talked about where solar was going to be in the future, and they needed to start looking at renewables. And we were a local company that was in their state or in their region that could help them provide those services. They could help them assess the opportunities. And so I would say about 5 years ago that we did get involved working with a number of utilities on their pilot projects, where they're really kind of dipping their toes into renewables and solar. And then in the last 5 years, it's been like the switch has been turned on, right? And so you mentioned NIPSCO, right? A couple of years ago, they made an announcement that they were going to 100% renewables, and they were going to try to hit certain initiatives by 2030. They're going to be decommissioning their coal-fired power plants, and then a number of Indiana utilities kind of followed suit. And the main reason they say that they're doing that is, number one, it's economic reasons. Solar is competitive. It's in terms of the model, the utilities don't have to build and maintain all this generation themselves. They can work with companies like an Inovateus, or other national developers that work in the energy space. So we don't want to miss out on any opportunities that are close to home, or companies that we've been trying to work with for a number of years. But at the same time, we're looking at making investments into solar energy projects. We have a joint venture with an entity called Brilliant Capital, which Inovateus was instrumental in starting. And if we see projects that are a good fit, that have a good return, and Inovateus can be a good EPC partner on that, well, that we're open to working on those opportunities anywhere in the country. Probably more so like on the East Coast. We don't really have too many intentions to go to markets that are pretty well saturated, like California, for instance. But if there's a company that we've worked with in the past and we have a strategic partnership, sure, we'll go work in California. But it's really an exciting time for the Midwest. There's a number of things that are happening, and because of that, we definitely have a laser focus on Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, and Illinois.
Very good. And so do you consider yourselves a EPC first or a developer first?
Well, it's a good question. The core of our business is still EPC, but the development side of it is growing, as the years go by. So, it's probably a 80-20 or 70-30 in terms of EPC development. Our development efforts really align with our ability to be the EPC provider, right? So when we're developing a project, in most cases, we're developing those projects with the goal of having Inovateus be the EPC provider. So we're developing, hoping to utilize the team and the skill set that we have on the EPC side. And then we use, utilizing our EPC services to help enhance our development capabilities and opportunities out there. So they kind of go hand in hand. I do see that mix continuing to grow on the development side as we move into the future.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we have about 10 minutes left, and that's not a lot of time, unfortunately. But so I wanted to, explore further your partnership with Middleburg Capital. That is certainly was big news for you guys last year. And then if we have time, I want to talk about the future of solar and the importance of recyclability of solar components. But tell us more about Middleburg Capital.
Sure. In 2016, we started a board of directors at Inovateus. And a gentleman named Tim Sutherland was one of the people we asked to serve on our board. Tim started a company in the early 70s called Pace Global Energy Services. And they were an energy services and consultant, financial assessment provider to a number of utilities across the country, and also large Fortune 500 companies around the world. So Tim and team kind of exited that company not too long after they were acquired by Siemens in 2011. And Tim became a trustee at the University of Notre Dame, which is in South Bend. So Tim, who's based in the DC area, was spending some time in the South Bend area. We got connected and thought that he would definitely be a good fit for our board of directors with his energy experience. And Tim was, quickly able to kind of work with our Inovateus team and our other board members to really kind of help provide more value to the shareholders and some leadership experience and coaching to our executive team at Inovateus. So in 2019, Tim also became our chairman, our chairman of the board. And Middleburg Capital Development is a company he and his son David Sutherland started in 2012. And Inovateus naturally became a good fit in terms of making an investment and having more interaction with our company in the future. So, obviously it was a welcomed addition to the Inovateus Solar ownership structure. Since Tim, as our chairman, spends a lot of time working on Inovateus, working on opportunities. He was very instrumental in the formation of Brilliant Capital. So Tim brings a wealth of knowledge to the table, to our ownership team. He also has a strong understanding of our marketplace and where the solar marketplace in general is headed. So we want to continually align Inovateus with the marketplace, and we want to always be able to improve our value to our customers. And so I think the announcement of MCD becoming an investor in Inovateus and getting further involved in our company is a true testament to that. And Inovateus will continue to grow and expand into the future, especially with the Brilliant Capital efforts. We see a lot of expansion happening over the next 3 to 5 years. So Tim's been a great partner for me in my role as the CEO of the company, and really enjoy working with them. They have a family approach to the way they do business. My family, along with the family of George Howard, have been very instrumental in the operations of Inovateus and also kind of growing the business throughout the years. So it also, their family approach to the way they do things was a fantastic addition.
And how does that play out in the real world? It takes the form of investing in and owning solar projects, but what kind of projects are you wanting to own and operate?
One good example of that is Hoosier Solar Holdings that I mentioned earlier, which is kind of a joint venture that Brilliant Capital is a part of with Advantage Capital and Energy Systems Network, which is based in Indianapolis. Advantage is actually headquartered in New Orleans. They have offices in St. Louis and in New York. But for instance, Tim Sutherland and I were very instrumental in the foundation of Brilliant Capital. And one of the first investments Brilliant Capital made was into Hoosier Solar Holdings, by which Inovateus becomes the EPC partner for a pipeline of a gigawatt of projects. So that the whole MCD Brilliant Capital move really lent itself well to helping us structure those types of deals. So we're looking at a number of utility scale projects, probably on the smaller side of utility scale, so like 50 to 60 megawatts, all the way up to a couple hundred megawatts. Projects that we're looking at that we will be like the development capital partners. We'll be using some of our own capital along with other investors that are close to the Inovateus family, looking at traditional, project investors as well. But at the same time, we still enjoy doing, 5, 10, 15 megawatt projects, even some that are a little bit smaller. And a lot of those we'll kind of just do all under the Brilliant Capital side of things with kind of in-house investment dollars. There's a lot of those 10 or 5, 10, 15 megawatt opportunities also in the Midwest that work well with municipalities, universities. And so those are transactions that we can move really quickly on, just kind of internally within Brilliant Capital and Inovateus. And then on the utility scale side of things, which is a part of our plan of attack as well, it takes a little bit more structure, bringing a few other partners to the table. But we do have all those resources to make that happen.
Excellent. So in 2020, you issued your first sustainability report, and you really put a stake in the ground saying you're going to be 100% carbon neutral by 2025. And you've already taken some real substantive steps towards that. You have a solar array on your facility, you have EV charging, you're obviously doing zero waste construction. I wonder if you can say a little more about the future for Inovateus with regards to becoming a a zero carbon company, and also let's touch on, just like solar panels and the sheer volume of electronics that are going onto the landscape now, and what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah. So, our plans to be a zero carbon company by 2025, there's a lot of efforts underway, some of which we've touched today, which include zero waste, pollinator-friendly habitat. But there's a number of things we're working on. One of which, Tim, kind of sharing this for the first time, probably in a podcast or interview type setting, but we've become part of an initiative in the Panamanian rainforest called the Menominee Valley Preserve. It's actually been a project that professionally I've been working on for a number of years, but there's a 13,000 acre primary and secondary rainforest preserve in Panama. And we're looking to offset some of the carbon footprint of our operations with things like travel, internal back of office needs, products, expenses. So we're looking to kind of offset our carbon footprint with specific investments into the Menominee Valley Preserve, which is a critically endangered rainforest in the thinnest part of the Americas. It's where the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean are only 35 miles away from each other. And so we're going to do some carbon offset agreements with the Menominee Valley Preserve. And so that's something, obviously, it's not necessarily close to home. It's more of a global initiative, but it's a way that it's gonna help us achieve our goal to be a zero carbon company by 2025. There's a sustainability challenge that Tyler and team are implementing at Inovateus Solar that Tyler could talk further about in another conversation, which is really interesting. But it's we're really challenging our employees to not just think sustainably and how they can help our company achieve its goals, but how they personally can achieve those goals in their own lives with their family and their friends. So there's going to be this challenge to see who can really make the biggest impact at Inovateus. And we're gonna make we're gonna put a lot on the line at Inovateus, and we're gonna make it a really good challenge and make it really meaningful to whoever kind of wins this challenge or whoever comes in the top 3. So another part of it is, it's not just saying that this is important for our company and this is the right thing to do, but we want to engage our employees to do those things in their own personal lives. And so in doing that, that's really going to help us achieve that goal, because by really getting our employees involved in that, they're going to come up with other ideas. They're going to come up with other innovations. And I think that's one thing that's key for Inovateus or any company out there. It's like, you want everybody in your company to be thinking about how to do this, how to get better, how to uncover every stone to see, what you can do. Because sometimes there's a lot of simple things that can be done. and an executive at a company or somebody like myself might overlook something really simple that we can be doing, like just at our office recently, our the way we do coffee, coffee in the office, the cake cups that you do coffee with, all that can be recycled. I mean, there's just so many simple things that can be done, and so we're challenging employees to do that, but also engaging in something like the Menominee Valley Preserve also helps us make an impact in Latin America, a place far from South Bend.
How cool. Why Panama? I'm just curious.
Well, uh, so I first got involved in Panama. I was invited into a conference there called The Nature of Business with a number of CEOs and business leaders from around the country. It was sort of spearheaded by a gentleman named Vern Harnish, who is kind of a guru of best practices, tools, and resources for executives around the world. So the concept was going to Panama and going to this preserve, take a number of business leaders and see what we could learn from nature. So many of us in the business world try so hard to innovate and figure things out, where nature has had the answers for millions of years, and a lot of times the answers are there, right? Making things simpler and learning from nature. So I went there to learn. I went to the Menominee Valley Preserve and was able to kind of bring back what I learned to the Inovateus Solar team, and that just turned into further involvement and work with other folks. I was actually, been able to do some more solar there. We were actually able to put in a off-grid solar array that helps power what we call Central Menominee, which is kind of like the base camp at the Rainforest Preserve that hosts people, and we do like overnights, retreats, things like that. So I've been able to meet a number of other business folks that I've been able to work with on the solar side as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to save a conversation about solar equipment for next time, or maybe when I talk to Tyler. I will be bringing Tyler on the show to talk about your sustainability initiatives at length. And I need to make a couple of quick announcements, and then I will let you run off to your next meeting. As I said at the beginning, the Solar Podcast is brought to you twice a week by Continental Energy Solutions, and you can find all of our content at cesnrg.com/videos. We interview thought leaders, developers, financiers like Jigar Shah. We introduce novel technologies like Alan Kahn with DC coupled storage. We introduce next generation products like the 2P Gemini tracker from Nextracker with Sunshine Solar and Emily O'Leary. So please check out our content, subscribe to the channel right there on that page, and give us a thumbs up. And please share our content with your friends and colleagues. We need thousands and thousands of more people to come into the solar energy industry. And so this content is a great way for people to get their bearings. I want to thank my guest today, TJ Kanczuzewski, the CEO of Inovateus Solar from South Bend, Indiana. Thank you so much, TJ.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, everybody.